You are listening to the Young Sportscast. Stay tuned.
I think Foles, though, had such awesome training with the Chiefs. I see everything that guy does, and I admire him. It drives me nuts because I'm like, let's go, let's move, let's do something, right? And I'll get there when I get there.
I see a trend of gratefulness to the Chiefs. I mean, not only do they give you polls and they get you extra money because of Taylor Swift.
And you took Nagy.
We took Nagy back from you. So, we're waiting for the thank you card.
What do you think of the NFC North?
I guess that's a question I have for you as a Bears fan. As you look at what they have cap space wise, like you're in a very enviable position. You have got money to spend. And so in line with that thinking that Poles has taken his time, how do you see him spend? And then too, as a fan, is there specific players or positions that you're hoping that he truly invests some time in the free agency market?
I think, for one, I'm a huge Justin Fields fan, and most of the people out there that aren't Bears fans are going to say they need to go after Caleb Williams, and I disagree with that. I think Justin Fields, with the right people in place, is going to be an awesome quarterback and has been. I think there's a reason they got rid of Getsy, because it wasn't raising the potential or whatever the reasoning was. But obviously at that point they were not putting the blame on Fields, in my opinion. That's the way I view it. So I see it as, I hope that the first overall pick, Marvin Harrison, I want to get him because I think he is going to be huge, especially if we're picking up the fifth-year option for Fields. And we're going to be getting into a bigger contract with him. They do have to be cautious of that.
I think your division, I think the Lions have taken a very similar approach to what Poles has done, where it's been slow and it's been methodical, and they're truly coming from the basement, which you could also argue that the Bears were down there with them.
Well, the Bears have won Super Bowls. The Lions still haven't won a Super Bowl. But go ahead, yes.
But I think your division has become a whole lot more exciting.
Oh, absolutely.
The Bears and the Lions specifically. The Vikings, you still have Justin Jefferson. They'll always be exciting until he's gone. The Packers, Jordan Love exceeded my expectations. Now, I'm hearing rumors that he could potentially be signed to a huge contract, maybe even leading numbers contract. What are your thoughts on that? I find that hard to believe personally, but I was curious what you think.
Jordan Love did great this year. There's no doubt. And once again, they beat the Bears. Both games. But I don't know if he's a flash in the pan. How many for example, look at Dobbs. Comes in and with Minnesota and just bam, 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 bam. So this can happen with quarterbacks, right? Where the quarterbacks say, oh, they're great. And I think if I remember right, the Packers signed him, Jordan Love, to a 2-year contract.
Yep.
Kind of a friendly contract, but let's see what you can do. I don't know if he's that good. I don't think 1 year is enough to say this guy is on it. I don't. But the coaching staff there, absolutely phenomenal. For a while, when Aaron Rodgers was there, I'm thinking, hey, maybe it's Aaron Rodgers that makes the coaching staff, but now they've brought Jordan Love in, and it's like, dang, this could be a great coaching staff.
Yep.
And if that's the case, then yeah, maybe Jordan Love is the answer, but I would have to have another year at least of solid numbers to say, yes, he's going to be awesome. I don't think he's there.
Yep. Back to your draft position with the Bears. So with that number 1 pick, we'll start there. What if it's not the Commanders? What if it's the Patriots, where you're at number 3? Is that you still willing to go down that far?
Yes, and I think it needs to happen before Arizona, because I think Arizona is going to take the wide receiver.
Sure. Yep.
So as long as it's before then, it's okay.
Yep.
And I think there's enough wide receivers in the draft that I'm not. It's not super concerning if they don't get him, but my biggest fear is nobody comes up and gets that first-round pick, and we're getting a wide receiver with the number 1 overall pick, and we get nothing.
Right.
That's my biggest concern. Am I worried about them taking a quarterback? I don't know, but I think at number 1, it's going to be hard for them not to want to at least look at it.
Yep.
Because when was the last time a number 1 pick went for a wide receiver and not a quarterback?
Yep. So as a fan, would you prefer that they took Harrison number 1, or if that was not an option, if they either had to take him number 1 or take some other position, or then go to the number 9 and take a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze, which scenario would you prefer as a fan? Because some have Malik Neighbors ranked as like instead of almost a 1B, like they're saying Harrison is good, Malik Neighbors is not a downgrade in terms of a full step.
Well, how far down the draft do you think he'll go?
I think most have all 3 of them going in the top 15 for sure. Now, I did see a mock draft though earlier where it had Neighbors much farther down, but I think between Neighbors, Odunze, Harrison, and Bowers, I think it's almost a guarantee they're in the top 15.
How many draft analysis have you seen that they take Caleb Williams in the first?
Oh, every single one.
Every flipping one of them. What are they? As a Bears fan, I'm a Fields fan. I'm like, what? What are you guys, just bandwagon? Everybody says this. Well, I'm not going to bandwagon.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm a Fields fan.
Yeah, I personally am with you. I feel like with the way that the Bears have built their entire team, that I just don't understand. I mean, I understand the cheaper contract. I don't see Caleb Williams quite in line as a generational talent. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think Fields is a good quarterback. So if you're able to build on him, I think you're starting from scratch with Caleb Williams. Like I don't care if you got Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison.
Well, and they even said coming out of college and going to NFL, you still have a learning curve regardless of how good you are in college.
Exactly. And so I don't care if you got Marvin Harrison there. Also, like I don't see that it's not turning your situation around in 1 year.
No.
So I've, obviously, I mean, as a Chiefs fan, I'm excited to see that Poles has done a good job. It's always disappointing to see someone go somewhere and fail, regardless of where they're from. But I think he's done a great job from the outside looking in, not necessarily as a true Bears fan. I'm excited for the future of their organization.
Well, and I looked at their salary. $80 million.
Yeah.
And the amount of money.
Yeah. That's where I'm interested.
And all the drafts. Other than the second round, we have.
Yep. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they spend that, because it looks like you have 6 overall picks in the draft as well.
Yep.
I'm curious to see. I mean, at $78 million, I mean, you're able to go after whoever you want. So here's a question for you: Chiefs let Chris Jones walk. Should the Bears go after him?
And I don't think they pick him up. And it's, once again, we're going back to age. I think Poles has that exact mentality. When I went through and did the analysis of the youngest teams, and the Chiefs and the Bears were very comparable. And that's what he's after. He doesn't want to sign these huge contracts. And I was even surprised that I'm glad he did get Montez Sweat. But over Chase Young, and I know there was injuries with Young, but Young was younger, and it made me wonder, is he going to go after Young because he's younger?
Yep.
And he didn't. But I don't see them going I don't see them going after Jones only because of the age. And I think what Jones is going to want is a 3 or 4 year contract with a lot of guarantees. The Bears are saying, "Wait a minute, no, we can get someone for that same amount of money that's just coming out of a rookie contract that we can give a 4 year contract and still be under the age of 30."
Yep. When I saw the trade to the Bears for Sweat for a second and then Chase to the 49ers for a third, I thought, man, the Bears got ripped. But then when I watched Chase play,
yes,
I said, nah, there's some character issues there. I think Chase Young is a fantastically talented player, but I think he gives up. I'm not saying he's truly lazy, but he just appears that he's not always all in.
Injury prone.
He wants to, as long as you're winning, he's there and he's on fire. But when the chips are down, so in the end, I think the Bears may have ended up with the better end of that deal. And
that was another one of Poles' deals. And I think I said this on another episode, but he's so methodical. He gets this guy, and I remember I'm in the tractor and I hear about this and I'm like pumped up. But then I realized they don't even have a contract with this guy. We gave a second round pick. Like, in Poles, what the heck are you thinking? You just gave up a second round pick. You don't even know if this guy's going to be there next year. And then within a week or two or whatever that was, all of a sudden he has an extended contract. I'm like, once again, just let Poles do his job.
Yep.
and go from there.
And you still have $70 million to spend even after you signed a top defensive talent. So money-wise, yeah, the Bears.
And the drafts. I mean, we have 2 first-round picks this year.
Yep.
We'll have 2 second-round next year. Speaking of that, let's go to the Packers.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, it just made me think of it because of the draft picks. How screwed did the Packers get with the Aaron Rodgers trade? If he plays, 60% or 65% of the snaps, they get a first-round pick? First game. They have a second-round pick for Aaron. They got screwed.
Yep.
I'm glad. I'm a Bears fan, so yeah, great, right? But
yeah, that's the way that the chips fell for them. It's called bad luck because whenever they signed that, there's no way that they thought there was any hope or prayer that Rodgers didn't play 60% of the snaps.
And he's been healthy.
Yeah,
almost all his career, as far as I know. I mean,
Yep.
Yep. So they got screwed. I think that the Packers are probably one of the teams that are in the worst position in the division for this coming year. I do.
Yeah, they have
I think with their cap space,
virtually nothing.
they have virtually nothing. They're going to be giving up. I would like to see the Bears pick up Savage. He's a free agent. The Packers are not going to have the money to be able to do that. I think I saw A.J. Dillon's going to be up too this year. I think they're in the worst position, cap space, that you could possibly be in.
Yep. They're in bad space, cap space wise. Running back wise, you're losing A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones is not young at this point in time. You have a quarterback that's at least produced, so that gives them something to build around. But you still have to be looking at, what are your options if this doesn't play out?
Well, I don't know I don't know if you don't draft a quarterback this year in case Love doesn't work.
Right.
The Raiders being in the limbo.
Yep.
The Packers are that way.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers leaves and they're stuck with Jordan Love and they give him a 2-year contract. They don't even know if it's going to work. So what do? Do you rebuild? But they're not even in the rebuild mode because they don't have cap space and they don't have.
Yeah.
I don't think this year division-wise they're going to do that great. I don't. I think Detroit Lions are going to be the tough team to beat. They got tons. Did you see their cap space?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
They're not that far behind the
Bears. No, they're not.
So, yeah, that was amazing to me when I looked at the success that they've had, and I went, oh, man, and you have money to spend. Like, they truly should be scary.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Do you predict the Packers will be last?
I do.
In your division?
I think so. And I think for the first year, the Bears either do beat the Packers one game or beat them both games. But I don't see us losing 2 games again to them. I don't. Regardless, I think we have their number, and I don't think Jordan Love does as good this year as he did last year. I think that was a flash in the pan like Dobbs.
Yep.
And I just don't. I think the contenders are going to be the Lions. The cap space, their coaching, their coach.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Phenomenal coach.
My hat's off to him and quite honestly to their owner because I know she took a lot of flack, when she brought him in and he took a lot of flack and it did sound silly to, we're going to be out there biting people's kneecaps. But
it seems like it's working.
Yeah, it comes back to the belief his players believe in him and his coaching staff and what they're after. And that just makes such a huge difference. I've credit Andy Reid in the same way. We talk about leaders, and we talked about Jim Harbaugh being a leader. Do you think Eberflus is in that vein? Do the players believe in him, and is he the coach that can turn that around? To essentially, is his staff good enough that you need? If you fix it in the free agency and the draft, is that enough, or is there still more changes to come on the coaching end for the Bears?
I don't think so. I think for some reason, and it's hard for me to say I'm behind Eberflus 100% based on the record we had last year, based on the fact we should have made the playoffs this year.
Yep.
We had 2 or 3 leads, big leads, 2, double-digit leads that we lost the game of the fourth quarter. And then I look at the coaching staff and say, why in the heck couldn't you close the game, right? So that would give me doubts. But then I hear, and you hear, just like we do with the Chiefs, right? You don't hear about riffraff that goes on. But I think the players believe in Eberflus, and that's why he's still there. And I don't understand why. I think the defense, the last 5 games, got way better. I mean, like, unbelievably better. So I think players want to be there. I saw Cole Kmet's contract. It was a very friendly contract, kind of like Kelsey. It wasn't a huge contract whatsoever, but he wanted to sign it, and he wanted to be there. Justin Fields wants to be there. I think there's something that they're building that the players believe in. And after having how many losing seasons with this team together, for them to still want to be together, I think speaks volumes.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And even Montez Sweat, I don't think he had to come to the Bears, but he chose to. And just different comments that he's made, I think so.
Yep.
And I think, I don't know. I don't know why they got rid of Getsy. I wasn't a big fan. A lot of screen passes, and then he tried to trick him, and he'd do another screen pass, and then another screen pass. Did I say screen pass?
Yeah.
So, it was what it was. But
what will it take to beat the Lions?
We beat them 1 game. We beat them the second game, or the first game we played them. We were up by, that was a double-digit game. I don't remember what the score was, but it's like, how can you lose? But they're going to be hard to beat, is my point. Their offense with Goff is phenomenal. I think their receivers, Brown, their defense is solid. They got Montgomery, got the Bears. Their play calling, everything. And even Ben, he's back again, too. I mean, I thought that was very respectful. Then, obviously I'm a Bears fan. Don't want the Detroit Lions to win, but by golly, they have a system. And for Ben Johnson to say, I am not going to be a head coach so I can come back and win a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions speaks volumes to the organization, the players, and everybody as a team.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I totally thought last year when they were talking about him being a head coach, I thought it seems a little bit premature. But this year, I was like, somebody's going to throw the bag at him. Like, there's no way he's coming back.
He's a great
and
guy.
When I heard that he stayed, I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Right.
That's amazing.
I think the Minnesota Vikings, they're the ones that I think are going to be in trouble. Kirk Cousins, he's a free agent. Do they sign him to a 2-year contract? What do they do with Hunter? And if they go into rebuild mode, do you get rid of Jefferson?
Right. Yeah, for me, I feel like they have to bring Cousins back for at least 1 or 2 years. I think they probably do draft one. A J.J. McCarthy or a Bo Nix probably is what falls into their lap, unless they trade up. But I don't see them trading up, personally. They have the 11th pick. So, they potentially could. But you let J.J. McCarthy sit behind Kirk Cousins for a year, or maybe even 2 years if he signs a 2-year deal. I mean, you're still going to be contender. Now, granted, I think as we've already talked about, playing in that division, though, will be a challenge. Draft or free agent salary cap wise, I mean, they're 14th in the league. They have $32 million. So they have some money to spend, but boy, it feels like you got a ways to go. That defense has not been what it's been in the past.
No.
You can't win with Justin Jefferson, and I'd say Hawkinson, but he's injured, so what week do you get him back? So I think the Vikings have a uphill battle for sure. You guys on the Bears side, looks like you're losing quite a bit on the defensive side of the ball. You're losing a couple of potentially cornerbacks, linebacker, defensive end. Is that you think the primary focus for what they spend in free agency is on more defense, or?
No, and I going back to the Chiefs, I see Poles doing a lot of this, and we saw it this year. A lot of 1-year contracts.
Yep.
So there's quite a few of these that are just 1-year contracts. Not even prove it type years, just one, fill that space and fill that gap, get somebody cheap that can play. So I'm not really concerned at this point with still doing the rebuild, that we're in a position where we're losing any great players, because the only one I'd be worried about is Jalen Johnson. Yep. They have to get him. And Pole's comment was, he's not going anywhere. So the assumption off of that is, and I heard his interview, it was so neat. Just real quick, briefly, he talked about everything the Bears are doing, and we're giving him pretty much everything he wants, and so he made it sound like to the media, we're doing everything in the Bears' power to keep this guy, and I believe him, right? But I'm sure it's not exactly everything that Jalen wants, and if it doesn't happen, I see him they're going to franchise tag him. They are. I mean, whether or not he plays on it, I don't know.
Right.
But
you know how much what his cost is on a franchise?
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
I think it was about around, was it 20 million? I think it was around 20 million. So nothing crazy. If they sign him the next year, then it's like 30 or something. It's,
right.
I mean,
right.
it goes up significantly.
Fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I believe him. I don't think for a second they're going to let him walk.
Yep.
And I don't see them signing him to a franchise tag and then trading him. I don't see that, because they even gave him last year to seek a trade, and he chose not to. I mean, there might have been contenders, but the Bears were like, no, you're not getting him for a third-round pick, or who knows what was going on behind the scenes. But the point is if he does sign the franchise tag, he is playing, I believe, with the Chicago Bears. They're not going to trade him.
Yep.
He's too good.
No, I think the Bears are exciting. I think they definitely have a bright future. It looks like for the Bears, they don't pick then until the 75th pick after the first two. So by then it's kind of in the third round. But having the 2 first-round picks obviously helps. Now, you mentioned you almost made the playoffs. As it probably worked out better that you didn't, because your draft capital then is increased up at the 9th pick.
Correct.
But it looks like you'll have to do a lot more in the free agent market than in the draft, based on the fact most of your picks are in the later rounds.
Right. And I think with the way Poles operates the system, I think he has a goal for his number 1 pick. Sounds like he's trying to trade it down, and then I hear he's taking Caleb Williams, and he's all over the place. And I think he's doing a great job of just not. Whenever you sit down, it's just like. Why did you even ask the question? Because I never even got close to an answer, right? But I wonder on the 9th pick. I mean, at that point, you got who you wanted with that first overall pick, or the second or third. I think the 9th overall pick, they trade down again to get a second-round pick, because I think they really want. Last year we did very good with the second-round picks. So I see them. I see us somehow getting a second-round pick this year.
And I think you would acknowledge they need to invest in the wide receiver end. And I think, to your point, if they were able to trade down, I think there's a lot of prospects that are solid, even in that upper second round, mid-second round. Likely there'd still be some there. So I think there's some wisdom if they were able to do that. I
agree. I think the defensive side, we're good, especially with Sweat, but we definitely need another defensive end. Mm-hmm. We see that we can't lose as long as we keep Jalen. I mean, we should be good on the back end of it. Offensive line, though. Yeah. I mean, I get it. You got a quarterback. Mahomes, I don't know how long Mahomes holds the ball. But Justin is and does have a tendency to hold the ball longer, which
too long.
Too long, and now you're having a problem with the offensive line. So maybe that, this new coaching staff is going to help that. But I would like to see us get another offensive line, and we did a center. I mean, we had problems hiking the freaking ball. Gee whiz. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today.
It's kind of important.
It's important.
It doesn't sound like a very hard job, but
no,
man, if you can't get it into the quarterback's hands, the play is done.
The problem with center, though, is a lot of their reads up front.
Yeah.
They're communicating with the quarterback what they're seeing. So it's great to have a veteran.
Running back wise, you guys have Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert. I don't know who you have beyond that. Is that tandem enough? I know you had some injuries last year, problems that kind of stretched a little bit. Do you see them making a move in that area?
I don't think they do in the draft. Foreman is up as a
free agent.
Free agent.
Yep.
I think they re-signed him. I mean, he was the one that came in.
Yep.
And just absolutely. He was out there. I mean, he was like a steamboat. He was phenomenal. I mean, he was a mean machine in there. It wasn't the same caliber of running that you see with the Chiefs. By golly, I mean, he had a vicious look.
Yeah.
And
he came out. I mean, when he was in Houston, he was a top prospect, and then he got that nasty injury, and then after that, he never really got the opportunity. So I was glad to see that he got a second chance, and I mean, is he the same guy that he was? Obviously not. But
No.
he obviously is still playing at a high level. So I was glad to see he got a second chance. He's kind of, I equate him kind of to the Jerick McKinnon. You know, he was another one that he came in, he was with Minnesota, then he went to the 49ers, then he got that injury, and that kind of ended that. And everybody thinks that's the end of Jerick McKinnon, and lo and behold, you know, he comes back, and he's not our number one, but he's obviously more than capable for the role that the Chiefs have for him. So
Yeah.
I was glad to see Deontay got that opportunity.
And I think too, with what the Poles and Eberflus are building, is an organization that people want to play in. I
Yeah.
do. I see other teams that we won't mention that take whatever they can get. They don't care what kind of
Yep.
a life they have outside of the NFL. And I don't see that. So I see the Bears growing through the draft, through free agency, with players that want to play
Yeah.
and have fun. They just got to start winning more games. But this year was, in my opinion, something that gave me hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually like the light switch at the end of the tunnel actually went on. I was like, wow, we actually could do this, you know. Like I said, we just missed it by a couple of games, the playoffs.
Yep.
And had we won the games that we had double-digit leads on, we would have made the playoffs. So I think
Where do you think they end up then this year?
boy, you know, can I lie like you did with the Chiefs? 'Cause I still don't think the Chiefs are going to take that number one seed. But you know, I think the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're going to be tough, but I think we have their number. I think it's going to be a toss-up between Detroit, Chicago, and then you tell me if Kirk Cousins signs back, and I'll tell you where Minnesota ends up. But I think Minnesota, and then I think the Packers are at the bottom. I do. I think Jordan Love falls flat on his face. Not that I wish that, but I'm just saying that's what I see. I see he was a flash in the pan. It's not going to work.
Yep. More tape.
Minnesota's going to be without Kirk, they're going to be at the bottom.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
And then if they don't have Kirk, what do you do at Jefferson?
Yep.
So
maybe even a step farther. You know, I know this is March 1st, but who on the NFC side do you see making the Super Bowl next year? Will the Lions be there?
I don't know. I mean, can I say that there's a chance they're jinxed like the Cowboys?
Oh, sure.
I mean, the Cowboys have been, they're going to make it this year, right? And then suddenly, they're out. So, yeah, do I think they have every chance of making it to the playoffs and being in the Super Bowl? I do. But they can't choke.
Right. Yep. Yeah. The one thing I'll give to them, obviously they're a great team, but Jared Goff has been there before.
Yeah, he has.
And I think that, you know, when I watched the playoffs this year, what I came away with is it's not always even about being the best team on paper, but it is about being the best team that can perform under pressure. Because
You're absolutely right.
when the players that are the best on paper are under pressure and they are losing, that's when you realize whether that player is truly worth the money you're paying him, because too many of those players fell apart and mentally lost the game.
Well, Chiefs are a good example of that. Their numbers, they shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have won the Super Bowl. We saw the numbers. We talked about this, but so yeah, you're right. Detroit and Goff is always good under pressure. I remember when they went for it to take the Packers out, was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. I mean, he looked like he was winning the game by 50-some points. You couldn't see anything out of that guy, and part of me gets about half mad at these quarterbacks that come in there and there's no expression. It's just kind of like, smile.
Right.
Be angry, be upset, be excited.
Be something.
Be something, and that's just who he is.
But, you know, Dan Campbell, I got to give him credit. I mean, as much as everybody, we can look at it now and go, boy, that was the wrong call. You obviously don't fear pressure if you're willing to go for it on 4th and 3 after you've already failed to make it on a previous 4th down. So in the end, I think, the Lions are getting to that point where the pressure is no longer going to be too much.
Right.
But sometimes it comes down to some of those little decisions and what happens in the moment.
Yeah. So I think it's a toss up between the Lions and the Bears. I think both of those make the playoffs, but I don't think Minnesota and Green Bay makes the playoffs next year.
Yeah,
I don't think either one of them are going to be there. Minnesota's got too many questions going on, and Packers are so they're not even going to be able to keep the same team they had this year that got them to the playoffs.
Right.
By what? Skin of their teeth. I mean, they barely made it to the playoffs this year. Unless, I don't know what would happen on that team to be able to get them into the playoffs again, because I think the NFC North is getting tough.
I'm still putting my money, if I was placing money, I'd put my money down on the Chiefs for the AFC coming back to the Super Bowl. I think they're motivated. They want a shot at that three-peat. And again, I think it's a smart enough organization. They'll figure out how to get there.
Yeah, they will.
On the NFC side, I think I've got to give it to the Lions as much as
I think you're right.
I don't want to see the Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl from my own family perspective. But I think,
I know a good marriage counselor if you need it. I mean, going through that.
You got a spare room in your basement?
Probably for you, because the Detroit Lions are going to win it.
But I think the Lions are right at that cusp. And again, kind of what we talked about. I think their coaching staff and their players, they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Because, it's always been about the Lions can't get there and the Lions can't make it. And a lot of that's been based on facts. It's been based on what actually happened. But I think with the amount of money that they've got to spend, that part scares me.
I was impressed. I mean, I looked at that. I expected them to be down there, marginal at best. I looked at them like, holy crap, plus the draft picks and plus how they had.
So they're
doing great.
They have built a team that is this good on the cheap. And eventually you're going to have to pay players, and I think they only probably have a couple more years before some of those players are going to start rolling.
Is going to be coming up.
Yep. But again, I mean, he looked expensive until today's quarterback market. He looks like an absolute deal. So
isn't it crazy?
It is. My prediction is Chiefs-Lions, not personal sentiment, but strictly because I got to give so much credit to the Lions for where they're at.
And for crying out loud, they haven't won. So even if